This one's for the parents building big things in tiny pockets of time. Take a deep breath. You've landed somewhere real. Hey, I'm Gabs Hayes, mom of three, business mentor, and your go to voice note battle buddy for anyone who's ever whispered, I love this life, but holy shit, it's a lot. Meg and I share so many similarities in the way we approach
Mhm.
life and the way that we're thinking about things. And when I saw that she was talking about anxiety and how to get through it and manage it, she's just my people because anxiety used to be like it plagued me for so long. So I'm really, really excited for y'all to get to meet Megan today. So Megan, I'm gonna throw it over to you. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. I am a life coach and I help women with really big goals, really big plans, a whole lot going on in their lives. They're raising kids, they're trying to make sure their parents are okay. They're trying to go out and have fun and they kind of feel like they're dying inside or drowning in how their body feels or all of the crazy thoughts that their brain comes up with. And I help them really learn just to create an exit ramp to get off of that traffic circle so they're not just spinning in their own thoughts and staying stuck. I do that because I have a really, really long history with an anxiety disorder that lasted almost 30 years. And literally one day after medication for over 20 years and doing everything that I could ever possibly do to feel better, it stopped, like literally changed in one moment. And I was like, "Oh, wait, that was it? That was the thing?" And so I went and I got my coaching certs and I quit my teaching job. And now I am here on this podcast, which is super fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to talk about like doing all the things and then leading up to that moment because I think for anyone who's struggling with it or feels like it's affecting their life, I see a lot. We're out searching for the thing,
Mm, mhm,
right? We're looking for this kind of magic bullet, this pill going to fix
mhm,
it. So I would love for you to kind of tell us like life where you were doing all of the
mhm.
things, how you got to that moment, and why it encouraged you to make this big switch in your life, right? It wasn't
Right.
just you feel better, but like you're like, I'm turning it all upside down now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say it's trench work and maybe there was like some divine reason why I was supposed to feel so terrible for so long. But really, I had been in and out of teaching for over 15 years. I was good at it. I used to say that I could teach anybody anything because I literally taught every subject in multiple grades for a long time. But I also knew that it wasn't where I wanted to be. So I went back into teaching after taking some time off with my youngest daughter. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to teaching. I didn't love what I was doing in the meantime. But I went back with the caveat of knowing that this was not where I was gonna be forever. Like, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna do it, and I'm also going to find something that really lights me up that I really love, and I'm still neck deep in anxiety at this point. So I started reading books about what else could I do with the teaching degree because somehow we like to pigeonhole ourselves into this thing. I think maybe especially teachers, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't do anything else." So I'm reading You Are a Badass, right? Like, I wanna be a badass. And I did not feel like one at all at that point. I'm listening to it, and I grew up in this little rural town in Northeast Indiana. I'm a church girl, right? Like, I've been going to church my whole life. And the whole book is about manifestation, which I know nothing about at this point in my life. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. I don't know anything about this. I really like it. It makes a lot of sense to me. And there's this line in this book, the author writes, Jen Sincero, and she says, worry is wishing for what you don't want. And I literally stopped walking in the middle of the road, and I'm like, "Who would do that?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I would do that." Like, I did not I logically or rationally, I suppose I knew I didn't need to believe everything I thought because we have creative brains, but I don't think that it ever dawned on me that I could actually choose my thoughts. Like, I was a victim
No.
of my thoughts, I was a victim of how my body felt all the time, and I swear to you that I can tell you exactly where I was standing in the road, and at that moment, I have not had another panic or anxiety attack since that moment. It was like, when they say, like, the neurons are always looking for the other neurons, it was like, click. They finally, like, buckled the seatbelt, and I'm like, "I'm in." Now, that doesn't mean I haven't felt anxious, right? Like, I'm human, and I mean, I went through a few phases where there was a lot happening in my life that was really overwhelming. I lost both of my grandmothers within 6 months. I had a son who was spiraling in his own anxiety and depression during COVID, and I did not fall apart. So, it was just
Yes.
like when it happens, everything changes, and so, I listened to the book. I'm like, I don't know what this life coaching thing is, but I'm pretty sure I could do that. This sounds a lot like teaching. I was already coaching swim, left the classroom, started my business, and the best thing ever. And it did not come from learning more about anxiety.
I mean, gosh, I could take this so many different directions. I want to honor too that I think this is a beautiful reminder of why we need so many voices in this space. I think
Mhm.
you and I both work with very similar clients in the sense of like the thoughts of, well, I shouldn't put myself out there because someone else is life coaching, or I shouldn't put myself out because someone else is doing this business. But as you're telling me that story, what's very interesting is I remember reading You Are a Badass probably 5-ish years ago. I mean, I don't remember when the book came out, but it was years ago, I know that. And it didn't have it didn't have a profound effect on me, right? Like, it wasn't the thing that touched me. Now, the funny thing is people will say, "What's the book you recommend people go to?" Mine is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis.
There you
And,
go.
like, and you just that very, like, powerful reminder, all of our voices are needed because
Mhm.
Megan and I could say the exact same thing, but we're still gonna say it a little different because of our backgrounds, because of our history, because of where we've come from and our core values and all these things. And so I just want to take a second and like honor anyone who's listening to this who's like, I want to get started, or I did get started and it hasn't been super successful. So I'm not sure, do I keep going or not? You don't have to keep going by any means, but if you feel in your gut you want to keep going, don't let what someone else is saying stop you from going out to do it, because your specific voice is going to reach a certain person who needs to hear.
Mhm.
But the other part I want to take this night, and you and I talked about this earlier this week, was the stop learning part. Like,
Oh god,
I
yes.
want to
Just
dive in
please,
on this
that is
one for a
enough.
second. There is a difference between learning, collecting information, filling your Notion and pulling all your spreadsheets and all of your whatevers. And there's a difference with learning while doing.
Mhm.
And I think, even to your story, right? It was like, I heard the thing. It was the thing I needed to move. And now I'm not going to keep learning about why I'm anxious. I'm just going to learn how I go do something about it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think just really maybe for me, one of the things I noticed is that I spent so many years my anxiety was largely health anxiety. I had all the diseases and none of them. And it did come from learning, right? Like it came from a good place where, oh, I have this feeling, I better make sure I'm not dying. I did not need to Google that. And to be honest with you, people will say, well, what's the thing I need to know? And I'm like, you already know it. You just don't believe it yet. And so for me, when I say stop learning things, that doesn't mean stay ignorant, be uninformed. Because really, for me, the thing that worked for me, which may or may not work for you, is just knowing that if I could dumb it down to science, right? If I could just say, the reason that my body feels this way is because there is a chemical reaction happening in my body right now. Everything I feel is a chemical. It's not cancer. It's not a heart attack. It's not a neurological disorder. It's just a chemical reaction. And I have survived it a million times. So, I mean, I was journaling. I literally was keeping a journal of symptoms and what I thought was wrong with me so that if I went to the doctor, I could say, oh, it started on this date, which is crazy. But I ended up using all of that information to say, wait a second, I felt this before, like on January 12th of this year, right? Like I felt this before and I thought it was that then. And now I think it's that. And I was like, that's stupid. So I didn't need to know more. And I would just offer the more that you learn, the more attention you are giving those thoughts and the more attention you're giving the way that your body feels. And it doesn't require more attention. It actually requires less. Go focus on something. Go outside and touch some grass. Go outside and, look at the clouds and make them into funny shapes. Or, color a picture, sing a song on the radio, try a new recipe, focus on some book that you love. And do everything you can to not give that feeling or those thoughts attention. That, for me, was it. There is no magic bean.
Yeah, and just the day that we're recording this, I posted on the day, like, my picture that of my post is me literally laying under a tree, because when I get
Mhm.
those worked up moments, I know
Mhm.
now, get your butt outside and
Mhm.
go touch the grass, right? And so we have this, like, in our little playground in our community, we have this, like, tiny little molehill, and there's a
Mhm.
beautiful tree at the top of it. So it's like the perfect angle to lay and not feel like completely flat
Right?
on the grass. Instead of spiraling about, I'm feeling stressed out, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling anxious, I don't know what the answer is. I
Mhm.
know what to do to make those thoughts keep moving. And I think,
Mhm.
one thing I hear you talk about a lot that I just want is this stepping into your own power and like realizing you can let your anxiety go. At a
Mhm.
certain point, you are deciding to hold on to it versus deciding to move through it. And you have the power to make that decision right now, today, with who
Yeah.
you are and what you have.
Yeah, and I don't know about you with the people that you work with, but one of the things that I think I hear so often is like, so I don't feel something is wrong. And that something is wrong can come when you start to feel calm. Like, I don't know what's wrong. Like something bad's going to happen. I can tell. No, your nervous system actually just took a breath or took a break. And this is what people must feel like when they're not anxious. Like if you can shift what you think about your body, it's just a disconnect between what your brain and your body feel, right? It's like, oh, I feel this thing. I better figure out why. Instead, it's like, oh, I feel this thing. Eh, and letting it be that way. Now, obviously, there are certain things that there's this intuition inside of us that we like to negate because our anxious brains like to tell us like that's probably wrong. But if you really look back at all the times that you freaked out about something, there was a tiny part of you that knew that you were just making yourself crazy. And I mean, at my very worst, when I was having like multiple panic attacks a day, I still knew that it was all garbage. It felt real and I still freaked, but I knew.
Yeah, I think it's a classic lesson of two things can
Mhm.
be true at
Yep.
once, right? Like
Mhm.
you can literally be in the middle of a spiral. You can literally be freaking out. And you could also look at yourself and be like, yo, you know better. And it's funny because I know my triggers now. I know what to look out for. I know how to maneuver them much faster. But like an example
Mhm.
of this is when I get real anxious or worked up, I tend to be very passive aggressive with the people closest to me.
Mhm.
I get real snippy and I just like make sly comments. And it's like the minute it comes out of my mouth now, I'm like, girl, you are being a bitch and you know it. But it will still take sometimes like my husband calling me on it or my kid
Hey.
calling me on it. So it's like it's not to say that you don't still need support or that you won't still have to keep working at this. I mean that we're human. We're always gonna have to work at this. But you have to give yourself permission to live a life that's worth living and worth
Yes.
loving and not a life that you're stressing over every little part of what's happening because we can't control it. We cannot
Mhm.
control the outcome that comes on the other side of it.
No. No, and whether you're anxious about normal, rational human things or giant, crazy existential thoughts that pop up in the middle of the night. That was my LinkedIn post this morning. I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about black holes and the future of being, "What am I gonna do about a black hole?" But in the past, I would have been like, "Oh my god, oh my god." I would have gone existential or something crazy on something like that. And now I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Tired brains are anxious brains, right? So we know that the more tired you are, the more wacky your thoughts will be. So, but it's knowing yourself and knowing your habits and like really being able to say, when I feel this feeling inside of my body, I know what that is. That means I'm not allowed to believe anything that I think because when you feel
Absolutely.
that, your thinking brain is not working sometimes, not at all.
Yeah, this is really helpful. So I would love to hear like when you're working with clients
Mhm.
and people are still really stuck in that thinking brain and not paying attention to that feeling, how would you help someone identify there is this kind of common feeling we all have, we
Mhm.
each have. How do you identify that so you can start to use it to move forward?
This is one of my favorite things I do, and I'm so glad that you asked. So I taught high school, but I also taught kindergarten. So I get to be a kindergarten teacher again for a minute. One of the very first things I do is make sure that people know exactly the difference between feeling excited or mad or anything else in anxiety. So I'll have them tell me about the last time you were really anxious so I can kind of make it come back a little bit. And I'll say, okay, close your eyes. What color is it? Yeah, okay, well, what shape is it? Like, does it have a shape? Does it move? Does it smell? Does it taste? Like, what's it doing? Does it make noises? And I let them describe it, and I will actually have them draw a picture of it. Like, get your color pencils out, sit down with your kids. You can do this with your kids. Moms, if you're listening, do this with your kids when they're afraid. Draw a picture of it and then talk to it. And the first time I did this was when I was getting my coaching certs, and I was working with one of my lab partners for my certifications was a therapist. And my oldest child, who will be 25 next month, was getting ready to graduate from high school. And he he was gonna move out, and I was my most anxious times, like, the period of my life where I was the worst was when I was in college, and so I had tons of, like, thoughts about him going to college, remembering what it was like when I was in college, and he was my baby, and he was gonna go to college, and I was wrecked. So I drew this picture, it ended up looking like a sweaty pickle with a swim cap on because my kids were all swimmers, and I'm sitting at the table coloring it, sobbing, like, tears on the page, and, she's like, "You have to figure out what it wants." Grief, 100% grief. Grief for my college experience, grief that he was moving out, grief that my baby was growing up. All of these things were happening, and I'm like, "Oh, you can do the same thing with anxiety." And what I find so often is that it almost always goes back to love. It's like, I love this person. I love this part of my life. I love this thing that's going on, and I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. I'm afraid, whatever's going to happen. You just love your job. You love your coworkers. You love the money that's coming in, whatever that is. It almost always comes back to that. So you can feel grief and love, like, two things at the same time again. But being able to sit there and talk with it and just be like, that feeling? Now we have a face to it. And I started doing this before Inside Out came out. So kind of the same premise though, like, right? When you see it, you'd be like, "Aw, it's kind of cute." Like,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so smart. And I love that, like, especially now that Inside Out has come out, you
right?
can totally do this with your kids because they
Yeah.
can understand where you're going.
Yeah.
And don't we all need a moment where we're healing, but also entertaining them at the same time?
And it's crazy when you're drawing this and like you're thinking about the anxiety, it's not the same, right? When we're in it and we're all up in our heads and trying to solve problems that don't exist, when you're drawing the picture, it's completely different because it's curiosity and it's creative in a different way so that you can tolerate those feelings. You can say, "Oh, I feel it." It's like purple and squishy, but it has spikes or googly eyes, or it moves like smoke or waves or something like that, or growls. One person told me it doesn't make any noise and that's the worst part. Like really
Ooh.
curious about it. And like when you feel that, that's your feeling. Like, now that you know it, now you can deal with it and be like, "Oh, I know what that
Mhm.
is."
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. Okay, so everyone's homework from this episode is go find color pencils, markers, whatever you like,
Mhm.
and some paper and sit with your kids and draw out this feeling that's coming up because we all inevitably have it.
Mhm.
But I love this idea of like naming it and what does it look like? What does it say? What does it feel like? Because then you can start to talk to it more like a person.
Is
And that is the biggest piece of all of this, right? I think is you are allowed to feel the feels. You are also allowed to talk to them and say, "I got you. I hear you, but it's not appropriate right now. We need to keep moving forward."
is and it's always just trying to take care of you. We think it's trying to kill us. It's awful. It's all of that, and it's just they're like, "Hey, are you sad?" And we just can't tolerate it. We cannot tolerate anything uncomfortable. So, yeah, and your kids can totally do this too, right? Like, this is such a good thing. I always say when I started my business that, like, if I can help moms and they can help their kids, we can knock out this anxiety crisis. I mean, it is
Mhm,
completely possible. Teach your kids how to feel their feelings because that's the problem.
mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, Megan, I'm so glad we got to do this. I always like to wrap up with how can we help support you and the work that you have going on?
Yeah. If you know people who are like, "I really want to be able to do these amazing things, but oh my gosh, I just can't stop thinking. I feel so terrible." I would love to do an audit with you. We just get on the phone, we talk for 45 minutes about what's really working well for you right now because we need to celebrate those things. What's not? And we're going to look at all the different areas of your life from your relationships to your health to your purpose and your values, things like that. And then we're going to say, like, okay, this common thread that goes through every single thing goes back to this one area or this one thought. That's what needs your attention. And then you start knowing, okay, now I have a starting point. And sometimes just knowing where to start is what you need to be able to say, okay, yeah. And if you want to work with me, we can do that as well. But that audit is just a fantastic way to be able to say, this is my starting point.
Yes. I love that. Okay, and I'll make sure all the links are in the show notes so
Mhm.
that I can get in touch with Megan and get your audit scheduled because, yeah, sometimes we all just need someone to point me in a direction and I can start heading that way, but don't let me flounder forever. So I will make sure we have all of this. Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, thank you.
Want to be in a room where you are supported even on the days you aren't sure you needed it? Just this week, we got a message from one of our village members sending so much love to this amazing community of parents. I'm so grateful to be in the community surrounded by people that want to make an impact professionally, but more importantly, show up for their families. Doing both is so hard, and having this community is so helpful. That's all we've ever wanted the village to be. It's a place where you feel supported, where you feel helped, where you feel held, and we can talk about the messy, ugly parts. And this conversation happened on our Thursday transparency thread, but we're having these kind of conversations every day. We would absolutely love to have you join us. Link in the show notes to join us inside of the village, where we can hold space for you, your business, and all of the messy things that come along with changing your legacy.